Hello, everyone. Welcome to Virtual Learning 101, a parent's guide for pre-K to 5 students, brought to you by the ADP Center for Learning Technologies here at Montclair State University. So let's get started. My name is Tracy Cummings McReel, and I'm the administrator here at the ADP Center. We're located in University Hall. And just like you, I have kids. I have a daughter in 6th grade and a daughter in 10th. So one of the first things I want to mention, I know it seems kind of obvious, but we're still in the middle of this pandemic. I think one of the most important things being that it seems like Groundhog Day, day in and day out, we're not professional teachers. I've actually interviewed a lot of teachers for this workshop, and one of the things they mentioned was that our kids might be angels at school, but them being comfortable at home, sometimes they act out or they're just tired and they don't want to do something. And that makes virtual learning that much harder for us. So there's still a lot of frustration and stress felt by parents and kids during this whole virtual learning process. And even on the part of districts, even though, uh, they've been doing it since March, they've kind of had to learn it on the fly, and they're still working out issues even now. A lot of these virtual learning platforms are still less than perfect. And the other thing I wanted to mention too, that I have a lot of empathy for parents that have kids under 10 years old. This is a very, very difficult time, and you can't pour from an empty cup, right? So we have to take care of ourselves. I love the analogy of when you fly in an airplane to put the mask over yourself before helping someone else, because practicing self-care is really important, and it's also really important as modeling for our children that they see us take care of ourselves. So how are we parents handling it? I love this meme I found on Instagram. You can either have a nice evening or you can help your child with their math homework, and you can't have both. I thought that was very fitting for what's going on today. Um, but I like this other little quote that says, strive for progress, not perfection. So I think one of the most important things is to keep in touch frequently with your child's teacher. Let them know what's going on with your child. Let them know what's going on in your family. Maybe you and your partner are on Zoom calls all day, or maybe one of you or both are a first responder. Um, Definitely let them know what's going on with you. And the other thing too is negotiate with your teacher. Um, if your child's working on a math sheet for over an hour and they're under, they're 5th grade and under, definitely let the teacher know. They might just say to you, listen, your child shouldn't be spending more than 45 minutes on this. So talk to them and see what they have to say. The other thing I'd like to mention is create some type of parent group for support and resources. I happen to use Facebook Messenger for a lot of the parents in my daughter's class. You can, and if you don't have one, you can just email the teacher or the principal and say that, hey, I'd like to get started, a group started, a support group for parents, and I'm sure they'll send an email blast out to see who would be interested, and then you could set something up. You could set it up on WhatsApp or some other platform. And the last thing I wanted to mention was, do what works for your family. Productivity might not be as low as it was in March, but it is still low. And we're expected to perform our jobs at the same capacity before the pandemic, as well as be a great parent. So make sure you think about, what you want to prioritize and just do what works for your family. Words to the wise. I actually love this quote. Creativity, imagination, and curiosity bloom in boredom. Sometimes the best ideas you have are when you're peeling potatoes. So one of the things I wanted to mention uh, before we get started with the bullet points is no expert can tell us how to do this period in our lives right. We do what we can and we just try our best. I think we need to set realistic expectations for our children that they have to do their work, um, and negotiate how the work is to be done. Kids can receive a lot of pleasure from technology, but there just has to be accountability. Needs precede want, right? So make a list of what they need to do, and have them complete the list, and maybe have some type of a reward system. So one of the things I wanted to mention is have device-free time, and I've realized this even with myself. When you're having family time, make sure you put your phone down. A lot of times, if we're texting or we're responding to a work email and our children want our attention, they feel like they're not getting our full attention. So they do feel that. So I just wanted to make a point of that. Communication is key. Have a family meeting. Um, I found this to be really helpful. Sometimes it's important so you could discuss, you know, who's going to be doing the laundry. Kids can actually do laundry at 8 years old. So, feel free to have everyone around the house help out. Maybe making meals together or taking turn rotating responsibilities. And the other thing I wanted to mention is try to stay away from micromanaging your kids. I know being at home under close quarters, sometimes I myself go into helicopter mode. And of course, it's not intentional. Sometimes also as parents, and we don't have a lot of time, sometimes it's just easier for us to do it ourselves. But I wanted to mention that the research shows that it gives kids a sense of defeat when we don't allow them to do things for themselves. Um, it also helps them develop confidence when they do things for themselves. So I just wanted to mention that. I remember when my daughter was 5 years old, she was a little too reliant on me. Maybe I was a little um, too much of a helicopter parent. But what I did was I decided to have her get her cereal in the morning. She was 5 years old or 6 years old. So I put the milk in a pitcher and I put it on a lower shelf in the fridge because it was too heavy for her. Um, she knew where the spoons were. I put the bowls on the counter and she knew where the cereal was. So in the morning, she'd get her cereal, and that gave her a sense of independence that she could get up and do it herself without me. So I think those things are really helpful. The other thing I wanted to mention is treat yourself and refrain from looking at social media. We don't want to compare ourselves with others. I know it's really easy to do that. And a lot of people use social media to boast about their lives, and it's just not helpful for us. Okay, so let's get into our tech tips and tech resources for pre-K to first grade. Um, One of the most important things that I learned from a veteran kindergarten teacher is that she did not. I asked her what was the most important thing for children to learn at this age. I thought she was going to say some type of like learn to write their name or identify sight words. But what she said was the most important thing she wanted her kids to leave uh, the classroom was to learn independence and to be comfortable making decisions and mistakes. I was really surprised to hear that, but it makes perfect sense. The second thing I wanted to mention is make sure you give kids ample breaks. Teachers already schedule these breaks into their day. So sometimes they start out in morning meeting on the carpet, then they go back to their desks and work on something. Then they'll take a little break and maybe do some stretching, some yoga at their desk. Um, and then maybe they'll go on to another task. So kids already get ample breaks. The other thing I wanted to say was experiences are better than technology at this age. But honestly, you know, we can't constantly give our kids non-technology experiences. They're on virtual learning all day. So you need to do what works for your family. The other thing I love is to use timers. Now, I remember when a friend told me this, I thought it was kind of silly, but it actually works brilliantly. So, number one, at this age, kids are not good at pacing themselves. So, in order to do that, timers are really good for that. So, you can set the timer for 20 minutes and tell your child to to read for 15 or 20 minutes depending on their age. And then when the timer's up, they know that they can move on to something else. So I think that's great because kids aren't very self directed at this age. And the other time when you're giving your child some free time on technology, video game, whatnot, you put the timer on. You finished your work. I'll give you an hour of time on your iPad. Um, so you set the timer, and when it goes off, it's not your fault that their time is up. It's the timer's fault, and it actually really works. It's brilliant. The other thing I wanted to mention was give kids their own space. If your child is doing their schoolwork, eating all their meals, at the kitchen table, that's not really helpful for them. So if they have their own desk, or maybe if they can sit in the living room or the dining room or just another area and then go to the table for meals, that's really helpful because it breaks up their day. So let's get on to our tech tips. So what's great about all of these apps is most of them are scalable up and down, and they're free for educators and most parents. So let's talk about a few of these. So the one that I like the best for teaching is actually for reading is actually a game, and it's called Teacher Monster to Read. Kids love this game. It's for pre-K to probably first grade, and it's a game where kids learn words and they actually learn how to read. A lot of times siblings will play this game to get and collect stars, and it could become kind of competitive. So I think that's a really good app. It's a free app, but if you want to download it on your phone, it's $2.99. The second one I want to discuss is Scratch Junior. This is a really great early coding program that's meant for um, 5 to probably 8 years old, and it's programming blocks that snap together in the form of coding. This was actually created by MIT. So it's a really great program to expose your children to coding and technology. And also, it's kind of fun. So they're not just playing maybe a game on the iPad. This is actually something that can teach them something. The other thing I wanted to mention, if perhaps maybe you wanted to give your kids some downtime, let them do some work, but not on technology. I really like the choice boards that you can find on Pinterest. A lot of teachers also use choice boards, and you can just download them and print them out. Um, and kids can choose what they want to do, and it's good for them. Uh, Epic is another great website that I know is free for educators, but I want to say that different districts use different platforms for books. Uh, but Epic is probably one of my favorites. And basically, it has a lot of your favorite storybooks from when you were a kid, all your child's favorite books. And what's great is a lot of these titles, you can have them read aloud to you, and it's not in a robotic voice. So even if your child is really young and they can't read, the book can be read to them, which is really helpful. And the last one I wanted to mention is Go Noodle. A lot of districts use Go Noodle. And what's great about it is it works those tiny breaks into your child's day. They have a lot of interesting little videos. Some of them are dance related, some of them yoga. Um, they have the NFL Play 60. And these are all things that your child could do right at their, you know, where they're doing their virtual learning. So at their desk or at the table, they could get up for a few minutes, stretch, um, and just kind of get their blood flowing a little bit. But I really like that one. It's really good. So tech tips and resources for second and third grade. So one of the things I think maybe we should be mindful of as kids are getting a little bit bigger, does your child need complete quiet or do they need a little background noise? My daughters are both different. One of them likes complete quiet and the other one likes background noise. But I think it's important to be mindful of these things when child are trying to do their work. Um, if you have multiple kids in pre-K to 5, it might be easier to create a little bit of a staggered schedule in terms of helping them with their homework, and definitely have older kids help younger kids. It creates responsibility and empathy. Um, and honestly, when I have my older daughter help my younger daughter with a particular subject because perhaps I'm on a meeting or something, uh, I always thank her. And then sometimes I'll do something nice for her, or I'll make something for her, or I'll just buy her a little something that might make her smile. The other thing I wanted to mention is, when is your child's most productive time? I know, being a parent, I would love for my children to get on their calls, get off, complete their homework, and be done by 1 or 2 o'clock so they can have the rest of the day for themselves. But it also depends on the type of person your child is. My one daughter likes to get everything done, and my other daughter likes to take ample breaks. She'll go on a call, she'll get off, make breakfast, then she'll go back on another call, do some homework, take a break, chat with a friend, and it takes her all day to do it, but she gets it done. And I think that's better for her to do that than to try to push her to get it all done by 12 or 1. So let's get onto the next slide where we can chat about the different apps. Okay, so here we have Flipgrid. Flipgrid is really common now. What I really love about Flipgrid, a lot of teachers are using this, but what better way to really learn something than to teach someone about it? So a lot of times teachers use Flipgrid to chat about what they know about a particular topic, a book, um, but they're actually learning by creating these videos, which I think are great. Or you could just use Flipgrid as a family to kind of send little videos to each other and kind of keep in touch during the day. But Flipgrid is really great. It's also free. You can download it on your phone or on your computer. The next one I'd like to chat about is BrainPop Junior. That's one of those scalable apps. All of these types of platforms, BrainPop, Seesaw, um, they all are based on the Common Core. Lots of districts use them. I particularly like BrainPop. As you can see here on the slide, they have a complete section on health. So they also have music and art, which I really like. I want to say when I asked my kids, they particularly liked BrainPop. Maybe your district uses it, but if for some reason maybe your child isn't connecting with some of the little lessons, you can always go on one of these like BrainPop and just see if maybe they have something that works more for your child. Literati is another one that I really like. It's a book club for kids, and it's try before you buy, which is great. Um, they, you go online and you pick out what kind of books your kids are interested, what genre, and what they'll do is they'll send you a few books. Shipping is free. Your child gets to check them out, and you send back the ones you don't like, also for free, and you pay about the same price as on Amazon. And what's great for this is something for the kids to look forward to, and it's also a tactile experience as opposed to all the screen time we're getting now. So I really like Literati for that. The last one I'd like to mention is Mystery Science. Some children are very interested in science, um, and it's also a great emerging field that a lot of kids are interested in. So Mystery Science, basically, according to what age group, it has these little mini lessons that can answer questions that kids usually ask parents, like why does a chameleon change color? Why does yeast rise? Why is the sky blue? So this all has these little lessons on there that your child can just look up and connect with, and they're kind of fun, and it's something else they can do to learn, and it's not, as I said before, just a game. So let's chat about tech tips and resources for 4th or 5th grade. One of the things I really like at this age is have children collaborate on their homework. Um, when you think about what professors do and how teaching has changed in the past decade or so, is professors actually have students learn from each other in addition to the lecture that they give. Maybe they'll assign a question, have students respond to the question and also to each other. So when children collaborate on homework, they're actually learning how to work socially, how to work in a group. So it's really, really helpful. As our kids get older, observe how they work best. This was something I kind of mentioned in the slide before, but I think it's important to revisit this as children change because they tend to go through different developmental stages. Um, and also for 4th and 5th grade, our kids might be a lot more dependent now than they were when they were in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, but a lot of times they require a lot more emotional support. Some children are starting to go through puberty, and it's important to be mindful of that. So let's get on to our apps. So we all know that math is taught completely differently than when we were in school. So I think one of the best apps is PhotoMath. And what's great about PhotoMath is you can download it on your iPad, your phone, your computer. It's free. And what you can do is use your phone to take a picture of the problem, whether it's a written problem or it's one from their math book, and then it will show you multiple ways to solve the problem. For some particular functions, you might have to upgrade. It's $9.99 a month, but I will say it's a lot less expensive than a tutor. So I definitely recommend Photomath. Khan Academy is also great. You can use them in tandem. I want to say Khan Academy is uh, the best one for math in terms of explanation, because you can also subscribe to their YouTube channel and they give lots of uh, videos on very specific math functions. The other one I'd like to mention is Science Mom. Science Mom was started by a scientist who is a mother, and because I guess her kids had lots of questions, so she started all these really cool videos and experiments. And she ended up having her partner join her, who became Math Dad. And they had this entire quarantine series where they would have uh, all these different shows that honestly last as long as a movie. So that's something else for your kids to do. That's, even though it's screen related, it's still like a learning experience. The last one I want to mention is an app and program for your computer called Quizzes. Now, Quizzes is a gamified quiz, which honestly, when I first heard that my daughter was using it, I thought it was kind of lame, to be honest. But actually, what kids do is they create these quizzes, and it's helpful. It's, in terms of learning, they have to go back into the text to find questions to create for these quizzes, and then they compete against other children in their class. Sometimes the teacher will have like a quizzes session where they try to see who can answer the most questions. So children actually like it and they learn a lot from it. Okay, so special subjects. I think special subjects are really important, especially for children as an outlet at this age. Um, Another thing, too, is a lot of times, getting back to what we were talking about earlier, special teachers will assign homework for library, gym, um, art, music. And again, I think, for myself, I if my daughter is struggling, I contact the teacher, because generally it's it's something that they need to do, but it's not absolutely necessary if they're having a hard time in school. But that being said, using these subjects as an outlet, like reading or music or language or art. The first app I want to mention is GarageBand. This is only available on iOS, but it's a great app for them to kind of unwind and play around with different uh, musical sounds and create their own music. Um, the other one I want to mention is Tenuto. Tenuto is wonderful because a lot of times fourth and fifth graders in elementary school are learning to play an instrument. And what Tenuto does is teach kids how to read music. And it does this by having the music staff and having all the different notes. So they'll play a note, the child will hear the tone of the note, see it on the music staff, and then they'll have to select which note it is. So it actually taught my daughter how to read music. It's it's really fantastic, and it will also teach the treble clef and the bass clef because the notes are different. Um, so languages, Duolingo's my favorite. It's got a cute little interface with the little green owl, and what's great about Duolingo is they have so many languages, a lot of very unique ones. They have Navajo on there, they have Gaelic, they even have Klingon, which is kind of funny to me, but it's great. And it's gamified, so kids have fun doing it. And Rosetta Stone is another one that is really, really good. Sometimes they have like a special where you can do free online uh, lessons and interactions with people, like live interactions. So those are kind of fun. Art, I like Prisma. That's something that's available on um, Apple or Android, and it's basically where kids take pictures and then they use these different artsy filters to change the picture. Some of them are extra, but most of them are free, and it's a lot of fun to use. My favorite is Art for Kids Hub. It's something you can subscribe to on YouTube. And I really like this because it actually teaches children how to draw. They use rudimentary shapes and then morph the shapes into an actual picture. And I think that's how artists learn to draw. And I think that's how kids should be taught. It's really great. And everyone in the family draws, not just both the parents, but all the children in the family. So you get to see all the different drawings. It's really cool. Parent tech helpers. So there are a few technology resources that parents can use to help their children complete their homework more efficiently. One of them is Otter. That's otter.ai. It's a website that it converts live speaking into a written transcription, and it does it in real time. And it also retains the audio. You get 600 free minutes a month and 40 minutes of recording time per session that you actually like, where you press the record button. And what I like about this is when children are younger and they need to write down their ideas for a writing exercise, they can't write that fast, so they can't get all their ideas down. And if you use Otter, you can just hit the record button and it will record what you say. And your child or you can help them look at it later, depending on what age they are. You could even record a lecture, or when your child's teacher is talking about maybe the math lesson. The only issue with that is you need to record on either the iPad or your phone, because you can't record when your child's on a Google Meet. That's an upgraded service. So I just have my daughter use the iPad, and she can look at it later. And what's great is it retains the audio. So even though it records and transcribes very well, sometimes if two people are talking at the same time or they're using proper proper names, uh, the wording isn't correct. So you can actually highlight the word and click the audio, and you'll be able to hear it and edit the document if you wanted to change it. So I think that one's really good. It's also helpful if your child has dyslexia. So for the Chrome extensions, all you need to go is to the Chrome Web Store. You can just Google it. And some of the apps that I like, Screencastify is a video recorder. This is also free, but it only records for 10 minutes. Cami, I would say, is probably my favorite. And the reason why is because a lot of kids get worksheets. Even still, they get worksheets. And instead of having to download the worksheet, print it out, have your child write on it, take a picture, upload, and send it to the teacher, Cami, you can open it with Cami, annotate right on the PDF, and at the top right hand corner, there is a save and submit function where you can submit it right back to the teacher through Google Classroom. So I really love that. And here in the next slide, I have the Screencastify. When you download a Chrome extension, it'll appear next to the space bar here. This is what it looks like. Otter. This is what the interface looks like for Otter. You have like a My Conversation tab, and all of the conversations will appear here. And you can click on them and listen to them or read them. Cami, as I was saying before, when you download Cami and open up the document, you can highlight, you can annotate and draw on it, or you can even ask a question. So that's what's great about Cami. So let's chat about some cool co-curricular ideas for pre-K to 5 students. One of my favorite things to do is set up a lunch table. You can use Google Meet. If your district doesn't allow you to do that, you can use Messenger Kids, or if everyone's on an iPad, I don't know how many you could join with FaceTime, but you could definitely use Messenger Kids, which is great. And that way, during lunch, if you have a call to take, you could set up the call for your child. I would just limit it to 4 children, because if it gets more than that, it gets a little bit dicey sometimes. So set it up for 4. They can sit there and eat their lunch and talk to their friends just like they would at school. Some of the other things I like is Explore, Animal Cam. And what's great about these is they're all year long. So there's a lot of seasonal things. Like in the spring, I watched an entire like brood of hummingbirds hatch, fledge, and carry on. And then if you look down in the lower left-hand corner, that's the video camera for the bears uh, feeding on the salmon that are uh, swimming upstream. I also like the live zoo feeds on Facebook. You have Cincinnati Zoo with the cheetah, and also Fiona, their resident baby hippo, which is super cute. Um, Nat Geo has some great stuff on their website. They also have this weird but true segment. Kids really love that. Um, and also, you could use your library. Some libraries may not have like my library is closed, but you could contact them for, sometimes they have outside events, or you can contact them and pick up a book. And the last thing I wanted to mention is uh, you could do an indoor or an outdoor scavenger hunt. And this will depend on your child's age. But for an indoor scavenger hunt, sometimes I just take action figures or those cute little Melissa and Doug puzzle pieces, and I'll hide them in a room and say, go in there and find them. And it'll keep them busy for 15 or 20 minutes if you need to take a call. Or sometimes I'll just write down 10 items outside, and they could go out into the backyard and find a leaf or a rock, or ask to see if they can find a shell. Never know, right? But it's also important for them to get that outside time, even when it's chilly. But the scavenger hunt might just have them out there for 15, 20 minutes, and that might be all they need. So family wellness. I really love this. This is from counseling. HALT, the acronym: hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Uh, we're missing out on a lot milestones and rituals that are really important to our kids' birthdays, graduations. My daughter missed her fifth grade graduation. She was very upset. I mean, we're all very upset about it, but um, it's important to acknowledge their feelings and ours too, and to create different experiences in a new way to make it feel special. Another thing I like is to keep a family journal. You can write a little something in it and pass it to another family member, or you can create a gratitude box. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but anytime someone in the family does something nice and you notice it, you could just write it down and read them all at the end of the week. It's very nice. Um, but getting back to HALT, a lot of times when my children might be acting out, um, or even if I find myself acting out, I think of the acronym HALT, because sometimes when our kids are acting that way, they might just be hungry, frustrated, lonely, or tired, right? So I know that can clear my head a little bit when I'm like, oh, my daughter's really acting out, but I think she's really tired, or I think she's just really lonely. She misses being around kids. My one daughter's an extrovert. So I think being mindful of that can really shed some light onto ours and our children's behavior. Exercise and wellness. Uh, One of the best ways to feel good is to connect with nature and to exercise. So, um, make sure you're having conversations with your children. I know my kids don't always want to open up, so I find the way to get them to open up is to either work on something together, or when you're going for a walk, you're not necessarily looking at each other, or you're um, in the car on a ride. Again, you're not looking at each other. And they also know it's going to be for a limited period of time, this conversation, if you're driving to the home from the store. Um, so that way you could be more in touch with what's going on. If your child's having a difficult time, most K to 5 districts have a school counselor. So make sure you reach out to them. Um, a lot of times, like, they can have a little Google Meet session. And sometimes, even if nothing's bothering them, it's still good for the counselor to check in and see how they're doing. Another thing I think is helpful to express themselves through journaling, art, music, and physical activity. Um, I remember I told my kids, hey, it's the pandemic. You should create a journal. You could look back on it. It'll be really interesting. but that wasn't their thing. They didn't want to do it. My youngest daughter created a really great art piece that kind of encapsulated how she felt. She felt joy in some ways because, hey, she didn't have to go to school. But on the other hand, she felt very isolated and sad that she wouldn't be able to see her friends or finish out her fifth grade year. So I think it's really great to have those types of self expression. Um, and also, for help with eye strain, I also recommend blue light glasses from Amazon. Um, they're about $20. And also, you can switch your computer or your phone to dark mode, which I think also helps with eye strain. So let's chat for a minute about the different applications. So Cosmic Kids is a great app for kids. I have the picture of the app here, but I actually recommend that you that you subscribe to it on YouTube. It's a woman named Jamie, and she goes to all these virtual places. Kids love her, and they do all these neat little yoga moves and stuff. Go Noodle, as I mentioned before, is a great outlet that kids can use right in the house. And the other thing I wanted to mention too is sleep. So if your child is having a difficult time sleeping, I recommend Headspace. It's one of my favorites. They've got great sleep casts on there that are very relaxing. There is a free version. It's got a little more limited number of sleep casts and other meditations that you can use. But what's great is a lot of employers actually reimburse for Headspace or other types of um, like applications or wellness um, things. So, or another one might be Calm. Calm has some nice free things too that kids like. So this can help them reduce anxiety and hopefully sleep better. You could use a sleep routine to help with that as well. Oops. So other resources, I just wanted to mention these two. Uh, Common Sense is wonderful because not only does it tell you what movies, shows, books are appropriate for your child's age group, they also have a great number of podcasts on there. So maybe your kid wants to switch it up and listen to a podcast. They're very popular and they're really wonderful. And the other one I wanted to mention is just PBS. They have a lot of great videos. They have one on the coronavirus. There's also a coronavirus book that you could download if you just Google it. It's a coronavirus book for children that's also free. And I just wanted to say thanks. So glad you were able to join me today. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to me at cummingst2@montclair.edu. And if you go to the adpcenter.org, you'll get to our website. And if you needed to chat with me further or you wanted to make an appointment to work on something or chat about an app, um, when you go to our website, you can click on menu, and under that menu bar is contact us, and you can just make an appointment with me. So I hope you found this helpful. Please stay well. I hope everyone in your family is well. Stay safe, and I'll see you at the next workshop.